Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day. So this recording is for the later part of chapter 2 animal physiology course. Before we continue to the later part, so a bit revision here. So the earlier part we talk about cell signaling pathway. So cell signaling pathway, there are two division, directly or indirectly. Direct communication or direct cell signaling pathway or indirect cell signaling pathway. Okay, here example here, gap junction. So from this example, so there are two cells sit next to each other. So the communication between these two cells is direct. Okay. Under indirect cell signaling pathway, there are two, short distance and long distance. Okay, so basically long distance will involve long route. Okay, involve blood circulation. Okay, short distance is like local area, not too far. Okay, but both of these indirect cell signaling pathway involve chemical messenger. Next, we talk about the properties of chemical messenger or the chemical characteristic of chemical messenger. It can be either hydrophilic or hydrophobic. Okay, these properties determine the type of receptors usage or the receptor binding. Okay, hydrophilic chemical messenger tend to bind hydrophilic chemical messenger will bind to transmembrane receptor situated or positioned at the cell membrane, whereas the hydrophobic chemical messenger will bind to intracellular receptor. Okay, intracellular receptor is inside the cell. Okay, so this is determined by the properties of chemical messenger. Okay, so later part of this, I ask you to read on this ligand gated ion channel, receptor enzyme, and G protein couple receptors. Receptor enzymes, there are three types. Okay, G protein couple receptors involve second messenger. Okay, ligand gated ion channel. That's another one. Okay. Then we look into this here. I think I have to talk about this. We look into overall. We have talked about the chemical messenger being hydrophilic or hydrophobic. So this is cellular communication or cell signaling. Okay. LR, ligand plus receptor, will make ligand receptor complex and it will cause response. So this response here, signal transduction pathway. Okay, and then after we understand about this, then we talk about the upregulation and downregulation. It's this term here, upregulation, downregulation, relate with the number of receptors, whether increase or decrease. Okay, so if we revise back the chapter 1, we did talk about positive feedback and negative feedback. So for me, I simply look this up. Look how I look at this upregulation and downregulation terms is like a positive and negative feedback in cell level physiology. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's continue to this one, introduction to nervous system and endocrine system. So basically, when we know about this chemical messenger being hydrophilic and hydrophobic, and then the cell can communicate short distance, long distance, or direct communicate. Basically, how to regulate the signaling pathway. our body have millions of cells, so how to regulate this signaling pathway, or the cells communicate to each other in these millions of cells, okay, or billion or trillions, okay, through nervous system and endocrine system. Okay, let's look into these systems here, each one by one, the properties and then anatomic arrangement. So nervous system is wired system. Why is a this system has specific structural arrangement. So from one neuron to another neuron, and then to the next neuron, and then to the target cells. Can be the endocrine, can be a muscle, can be a gland, okay. Whereas the endocrine system is a wireless system, so no distinct structure that connect endocrine glands to the target organ or target tissues, okay. For example, hypothalamus is an endocrine gland also. Hypothalamus will send signal to adrenal gland, so that adrenal gland can secrete its hormones. For example, maybe aldosterone, okay. So there are no specific structure that connect directly hypothalamus to endocrine and adrenal gland for the gland to secrete the hormones, okay. So yeah, so next, chemical messenger for nervous system is basically a neurotransmitters. So these neurotransmitters release into the synaptic cleft. Chemical messenger for endocrine system is the hormones secreted by the endocrine gland, okay. And these hormone release into the blood. Okay, let's see in terms of distance of action of these chemical messengers. Okay, for nervous system, the distance is very short. The neurotransmitter being diffuses across the synaptic cleft. What is synaptic cleft? From one neuron body to another neuron. Let's see. Another. Okay. So number 1 and number 2. So synaptic cleft is between these end of part here communicate. So at synaptic cleft. Okay. For endocrine system, long distance. So hormone secreted into the blood, and the blood will carry this hormone to the target area or to the target organ. Specificity of the action of the target cell dependent on the close proximity of the anatomic relationship between neurons and the target cells. Okay, whether the neuron with neuron or neuron with the muscles. Alright. So for endocrine system, dependent on the specificity of the target cell binding and responsiveness to a particular hormone. Okay. For example, just now, adrenal gland secrete aldosterone. So aldosterone, it will travel into the blood and go to the target organ or target cell, which is the kidney, right? So this specific. So if aldosterone travel to let's say the arms, nothing happen. Okay. dependent on the specificity of the target cell binding. So receptors for aldosterone is available or present at the kidney cells. Okay, so speed of response for nervous system is rapid. Okay, plus nervous system is electrical signal. Okay, so speed of response in endocrine system is slower compared to nervous system. Duration of action. The duration of action for nervous system is very brief, whereas the endocrine is longer, can be minutes to days or much longer than that. Okay, major function for nervous system coordinates rapid and precise response. So let's say like a rapid movement reflex. Okay, or major function endocrine system is to control activities that require long duration, meaning maintaining. Okay, that example, you eat your meal, right? So secretion of the hormones and enzymes, so that secretions to help the digestion of the meal that you ate. So it controls, okay, the longer process. Okay, okay. So this slide here just elaboration. Endocrinology is the study of homeostatic chemical adjustment and other activities accomplished by the hormones. The keyword here, hormones, which are secreted by what is the organ is the endocrine glands. Okay, hormones can be classified again. We encounter back this wording here, hydrophilic and hydrophobic. Okay, hormones can be classified into these two, hydrophilic and hydrophobic. So example here, peptide based hormones is example, insulin is a peptide base, and so insulin is hydrophilic hormones. For steroid, for hydrophobic, testosterone. Okay, testosterone is example of hydrophobic hormones, or we call it steroids. Okay, steroid is hydrophobic. So okay, this slide here is to show you the major endocrine organs. So hypothalamus, thyroid gland, parathyroid, adrenal gland, pancreas, and the gonad. So this is the endocrine gland. These organs can secrete hormones. That's why we call it endocrine organs. Okay, next, now we know about the endocrine organs. Okay, we know that endocrinology involve hormones and the glands here. So this is classifications of hormones. So you can see we have 4 chemical classifications of hormones: peptides, amines, under catecholamines, amines in thyroid hormones, and the 4th one is steroid. Okay, in terms of solubility, peptides is hydrophilic, amines or catecholamines is hydrophilic, thyroid hormones is lipophilic or hydrophobic, steroid hormone also hydrophobic. Structure of peptides hormones, change of specific amino acids, so amino acids, and then the longer of amino acid, we call it dipeptide, tripeptide, polypeptide, and so forth. Okay, catecholamine, the structure is tyrosine derivative, so you can read this in the reference book. Structure for thyroid hormones, tyrosine derivative but iodinated. Okay, And for steroid, the structure is cholesterol derivatives. Synthesis of peptide hormones. So synthesis of peptide hormone involve rough endoplasmic reticulum ER. Okay. So how protein translated, how protein synthesized. Okay. Translate from the gene and then transcribed. So transcription of mRNA, and then go through the endoplasmic reticulum. The Golgi complex are packaged. These peptide hormones. For catecholamines, the synthesis in the cytosol. And thyroid hormones, the synthesis is colloid within the thyroid gland. So amine thyroid hormones can only be found in the, or can be secreted by thyroid gland. Steroid hormone, the synthesis can be in various intracellular compartment. Okay. Yep, usually the gonads. The adrenal gland in different types, in different region of adrenal gland. Okay. Storage of peptide hormones basically in the vesicles. Okay. Same with amine catecholamine vesicles, secretory granules vesicles. For thyroid hormones, in the colloid storage, stored in the colloid, and also steroids, precursor in lipid droplets. Alright, next properties is secretion of these types hormones. How peptide hormone being secreted? By or via exocytosis of granules. If you look back or refresh back the earlier part of this slide, we did encounter the word exocytosis. Okay. Let me see here, maybe number 14. Okay. Yep, this one. Okay. Earlier part we learned about hydrophilic and hydrophobic, and you can see hydrophilic messenger secreted via exocytosis. Okay. Alright. Okay. So next, secretion of the catecholamine. Also exocytosis. I think basically how to memorize it. It's related with the hydrophilic solubility. Okay. In amines, thyroid hormones, endocytosis of the colloid, and then steroid secretion simply by diffusion. Transportation in the blood. The peptide hormone can move freely in the blood, so it's travel in the blood as a free hormones. For catecholamines, half pound of plasma protein. So this one you can relate back. If we look into the chemical structure of this catecholamine, there are part of this catecholamine structure which have charges. So or the chemical structure or the chemical properties is repels the water aqueous. So half of it have to be bound with plasma protein. For thyroid hormones, the transportation in blood mostly bound to plasma protein. So this one again, steroid hormone. So we go back to the solubility properties, hydrophobic. Okay, so receptors site for peptides and catecholamines, surface of the target cells. Okay, transmembrane receptors. For these two here, amines, thyroid hormones and steroid, intracellular receptors. Mechanism of action. For peptides and catecholamines, activation of second messenger pathway, which alter the activity of pre-existing proteins that produce effect. So this one basically the signal transduction pathway. Okay, so for amine thyroid hormones and amine thyroid hormones and steroid, so the mechanism of action usually involve activation of genes, okay, which will make new proteins to produce effect. Okay, so example for peptide hormones, can you give example? So insulin or glucagon is example, or these two is peptide hormone. Okay, or okay, this one example for catecholamine, dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. Okay, thyroid hormones, basically the hormones from thyroids, and also steroid hormones, hormones from adrenal cortex or gonads. Alright.